Welcome to Global Facts. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more breaking updates. I bet you didn't know just how fast the world's economic order is changing right now. From Shanghai's bustling ports to the towering financial centers of Mumbai, the world's economic landscape is shifting before our eyes. And across Brazil's vast resource fields, a seismic transformation is underway, touching every corner of the globe. For decades, the US dollar has been the lifeblood of global trade, the currency that underpinned international commerce and finance. But today, we witness the rise of a powerful counter-narrative as new players step onto the world stage. The BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, are challenging the very foundations of the post-Cold War economic system, seeking to rewrite the rules of global engagement. This isn't a sudden collapse, but a deliberate realignment. Tariffs, trade agreements, and international alliances are all in flux, as countries reconsider their roles in a rapidly changing world. US trade tensions, intended to reassert American dominance, have instead unified the BRICS nations, accelerating their pivot away from the US-centric system and forging new partnerships. The implications are profound. Global supply chains, prices, and even the nature of international diplomacy are all at stake, with ripple effects reaching businesses and consumers everywhere. This is more than a trade dispute. It's a fundamental reevaluation of global governance as nations seek new ways to collaborate and compete on the world stage. To understand tomorrow's world, we must examine the powerful forces shaping it today, from shifting alliances to emerging economic powerhouses. This story is about the rise of BRICS, their strategic response to mounting American pressure, and the birth of a truly multipolar global economy that promises to reshape our future. The era of unquestioned American economic centrality is fading. What comes next will define not just the next decade, but the entire century ahead. BRIC began as a catchy investment acronym in 2001, never expected to become a geopolitical force. By 2010, with South Africa's inclusion, BRICS was born, but many dismissed it as a loose coalition. Quietly, these nations, over 40% of the world's population, built new institutions like the New Development Bank, challenging Western dominance. The bloc's recent expansion to 10 full members, including Egypt, Iran, and the UAE, is deeply strategic, not just symbolic. With more partners and applicants, BRICS is transforming into a vast global South network, seeking a fairer economic system. The expanded bloc's GDP now nearly rivals the G7, fueling newfound confidence. BRICS is no longer asking for a seat at the table, it's building its own. Its agenda: trade in local currencies, a common payment system, and bypassing the US dollar. What started as an acronym is now reshaping the global economic landscape. The US has responded to BRICS's rise with assertive, confrontational policies, aiming to protect its global economic dominance at all costs. Washington sees the growing influence of BRICS as a direct challenge to the established world order and is determined to push back. President Trump's administration views de-dollarization as a direct threat to American power, responding with sweeping tariffs on BRICS imports and a series of tough economic measures designed to send a clear message. A 10% tariff in July 2024 was just the start. India faced a staggering 50% tariff, and threats of 100% tariffs now loom for any BRICS nation seen as undermining the dollar's supremacy. The escalation is unprecedented, signaling a willingness to risk global trade stability. The strategy assumes the US market is indispensable and that economic pressure will fracture BRICS from within. American policymakers believe that no country can afford to lose access to the world's largest consumer economy. Trump claims his approach is working, but the facts say otherwise. Despite the pressure, not a single member has left BRICS. The bloc remains intact, and its leaders appear more united than ever. Instead, the bloc has expanded and deepened cooperation, revealing a fundamental miscalculation in Washington's strategy. New trade agreements and joint projects are being announced at a rapid pace. The bet was that diverse interests would break BRICS apart, but the opposite has happened. Shared adversity has forged stronger ties, turning rivals into partners. Rather than divide, US tariffs have united BRICS members against a common adversary. Public sentiment in these countries is rallying around the idea of economic independence. The result: a stronger, more determined alliance accelerating its push for economic independence, investing in infrastructure, and building new financial systems outside US control. Washington's gamble is backfiring, fueling the very unity it sought to disrupt. the world is witnessing a dramatic shift in the balance of power. The world is watching as the US strategy strengthens its rivals, and the consequences are rippling through international institutions and alliances. The stakes for global economic leadership have never been higher, and the outcome of this high-stakes gamble will shape the future of international relations for years to come. The numbers reveal a world in transition. Old trade dependencies are fading, new corridors are emerging. The global trade landscape is undergoing a seismic shift, driven by geopolitical changes and economic strategies. China's exports to the US have dropped from 20% in 2018 to under 15% in 2024, a deliberate move to reduce vulnerability. This shift is part of a broader strategy to diversify trade partnerships and reduce reliance on any single market. Intra-BRICS trade is booming, especially in energy. India and China now top the list of Russian oil buyers. This energy trade is not just about oil. It includes natural gas and other resources, strengthening ties within the bloc. These deals, often outside Western financial systems, are central to BRICS' strategy. By bypassing traditional financial networks, BRICS nations are creating a parallel economic system that enhances their collective bargaining power. Vietnam's story is telling Threakin. Threatened with US tariffs, it pivoted to China, signed dozens of agreements, and joined BRICS as a partner. This move has allowed Vietnam to secure its economic future and align with a growing economic bloc. American pressure, meant to isolate, is instead pushing nations closer to BRICS. The unintended consequence is a stronger, more united front among these emerging economies. The bloc's combined GDP now rivals the G7, with India alone accounting for over 8.5% of global GDP. This economic clout is reshaping global financial dynamics and challenging the traditional power structures. While US-China trade remains huge, growth is shifting toward intra-BRICS and South-South trade. These new trade routes are fostering economic resilience and mutual growth among developing nations. The US is no longer the only game in town. Nations are voting with their shipping containers. This diversification is a strategic move to ensure stability and growth in a multipolar world. The global trade map is being redrawn. New corridors are being established, reflecting the shifting alliances and economic priorities of the 21st century. The shift is deliberate, strategic, and accelerating. Nations are actively seeking new partnerships and trade routes to secure their economic futures. The world's economic center of gravity is moving. As new trade routes and partnerships emerge, the global economic landscape is being transformed. Ironically, US tariffs have strengthened the very bloc they aim to weaken. Facing a common threat, historical rivals like India and China are setting aside differences. Recent diplomatic breakthroughs, border talks, and high-level visits were unthinkable just a year ago. Russia, under Western sanctions, has become a diplomatic broker, smoothing tensions within BRICS. Shared adversity has transformed BRICS from a loose forum into a determined coalition. Even critics in China joke that President Trump is Trump, the nation builder, uniting his rivals. US policy has given BRICS its most compelling reason to cooperate. The bloc is now a unified force on the world stage. At the heart of global friction is the US dollar's dominance, a privilege that's now under siege. BRICS' de-dollarization campaign is a gradual, systematic effort to build alternatives. More trade is settled in local currencies, yuan, rupees, dirhams, eroding the dollar's dominance. The new development bank is lending in local currencies, reducing reliance on dollar-based financing. The long-term goal, a shared payment system, bypassing SWIFT and making BRICS immune to US sanctions. Creating a new currency is tough, but a payment platform is within reach and a top priority. For sanctioned nations like Russia and Iran, this is economic survival. For China and India, it's about sovereignty. The tariff war has convinced more countries that dollar dependence is a vulnerability. This quiet revolution in finance ministries may be the most consequential shift of our time. The global financial order is being rewritten, one transaction at a time. As the economic drama unfolds, experts agree, the dollar's era of total dominance is ending. Ironically, US tariffs may reinforce the dollar short-term, but accelerate the shift to a multipolar currency system. By weaponizing the dollar, the US is pushing others to seek alternatives. Skeptics argue BRICS faces internal divisions and the dollar's deep entrenchment, but momentum is building. BRICS now represents a larger share of the global economy and population than the G7. The future likely holds multiple currency blocks and regional financial systems, not a single new hegemon. The key question: has US policy overplayed its hand, creating a motivated coalition for change? The world is moving from a unipolar to a multipolar, or even non-polar, order. The transition will be turbulent, but the direction is clear. The US will remain vital, but no longer the undisputed center. The US-BRICS conflict is reshaping the global economy, creating volatility and uncertainty. Trade flows are disrupted, supply chains destabilized, and costs rising for consumers worldwide. Economic fragmentation threatens decades of progress in poverty reduction and efficiency. Two competing blocs, US G7 and BRICS, could lead to parallel tech standards and financial systems. This great decoupling risks stifling innovation and slowing global growth. Geopolitically, nations are forced to choose sides, shrinking space for neutrality. The decline of a single financial system weakens global governance tools like sanctions. For ordinary people, expect higher prices and less global interconnectedness. Regional conflicts may escalate as economic competition intensifies. The stability that defined recent decades is now in question. We stand at a historic turning point. The unipolar moment is over. The rise of BRICS and tariff wars are symptoms of a deeper global transformation. The world is evolving beyond the need for a single organizer. A messy, multipolar era is emerging. This new age demands cooperation on global challenges. No nation or bloc can go it alone. The US must adapt, shifting from command to partnership and recognizing rising powers' aspirations. BRICS must manage internal diversity and prove its leadership benefits the world, not just its members. The choices made now will shape the 21st century's order, equitable or rivalrous. Understanding these shifts is a civic duty. The plates of global power are moving, and we must pay attention.